Hello, this is Guy Morrell Stinsoning, welcoming you to the Empowered Kingdom podcast. I have a special guest today. Her name is Heather Hancock. Heather Hancock has led a very difficult life. She has physical impairment, which she will tell you about in a moment. And her message is really to call churches to be more accommodating of the disabled. It's something I really take to heart. It's something I believe that churches should take to heart, because God gives every single person, puts talent and gifting in them, which we are made much poorer for if we quite simply ignore. So with that in mind, let's go over to the interview with Heather Hancock. Hi, this is Guy. I'm talking with Heather Hancock about the subject of disability and the accommodation of the disabled in churches. And I hear this from the heart of Heather, that there's a need to accommodate disabled people. And I also see this, and I know that this is a reality. We see it not only in churches, but we see it in the workplace and so on. So as I'm talking with Heather, I just said to her, hey, let's record this because I think this is important. And so, Heather, just a little bit of background for those who will listen to this. What is your experience with disability? And then we will go to how churches can help accommodate it.
Sure. I was born very premature, and at the age of 2 was diagnosed with spastic cerebral palsy. An IQ test at the age of 3 determined that my disability is purely physical. It did not affect my brain, so there's no cognitive impairment at all. So that's my experiences from the physically disabled world. Now, for churches accommodating people with disabilities, the common reason I get from pastors for not doing anything is simply because they say, well, it's expensive to put accommodations in, and we can't accommodate every disability because we just don't have the budget for it. And that's not what I'm asking them to do. I'm asking them to look at their congregation, who is present in their congregation with a disability of any kind. I'm asking you to address the needs of the people that are in your congregation currently. And those needs do differ, but, somebody with autism has different needs than somebody like me who's physically disabled. So for physically disabled people, we need access to your building. So safe ramps. We need automatic doors that open and close with a touch of a button. Yes, those are expensive, but they're necessary. We need accessible washrooms that are wheelchair accessible. That means put the automatic door button on those as well. And make sure the stalls, you can actually get in there with a wheelchair, to put the wheelchair beside the toilet, not in front of the toilet, because that's not how you transfer. A wheelchair accessible stall will also accommodate a walker easily, so you kill 2 birds with 1 stone there. Make sure one sink is lower than the other without anything impeding somebody rolling underneath the sink, so we can reach back to the taps without dislocating a shoulder trying, and have the soap within reach as well, and a towel. Just little things like that make life so much easier. For within the sanctuary, reserve some space for wheelchairs to park where we're not impeding the flow of other people's movement around the sanctuary. But we're also not kind of relegated to the back corner either, where we can't really see. So for somebody with autism, always have headphones that are noise canceling headphones or noise dampening headphones. The worship that happens in most churches is at a high decibel range, and it overwhelms. And they can't deal with it. They will leave. So if they can have those, then it makes it bearable for them. Also have a room where people can go to that's a quiet space in case they need time, a quiet space to refocus. And that's just two. I mean, for the blind, you need somebody to sign for the sermon. Yeah, sometimes they're good at lip reading. I learned how to lip read when I was a kid, but you can't always lip read well from a distance, especially with a microphone in front of somebody's mouth. So, hearing impaired, you need something to amplify sound if somebody's not fully deaf. And again, people that can sign if they are completely deaf. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. But look at who God's given you in regards to your disabled people. And then don't discount us from serving in the church, because take the time to discover what the gifts are that God's given us. And people with Down syndrome are the most loving people in the entire world. They radiate the love of Jesus like no one else does. People with physical disabilities often have spiritual gifts that do not require the use of their physical bodies, because their gifts are more along the prophetic line, and prayer and other things are their realm. And so you don't need your legs to work for that. Things like that. Those are examples, but you get the gist. There's hidden gems within each church. You just have to kind of mine them out a little.
Right, and with mining, there's an intentional commitment to mine. Exactly. Right, it's not something that just happens.
No,
I hear you. At least I think I hear you. But what I also feel in my spirit is that God gives everybody gifting. You know me in the kingdom. I teach that everybody has a calling. Everybody has a gifting by God and a place and a purpose. So if we have a church or a congregation where we are not mining for the gifting that God has put in our people, we remain a poor church. And no matter how big and no matter how great the performance, we remain a spiritually poor church. Yeah. And I really feel that, Heather, there is a massive need for this. Maybe to just start putting together outlines like you're talking about. No church has every disability on the spectrum coming in their doors, but I am aware we're in a church of about 500 members, and there are probably 3 or 4 disabled. Yeah. And what you are talking about is well within their reach to accommodate. Right. Excuse me, the one thing I do want to just mention is autism. I saw an incredible testimony of a girl who was autistic, severely so, used to bash her head. And the parents struggled with her for something like 13, 14 years or whatever. And then one day, so she was thought of as unintelligent. She was thought of as there's nothing much you can do other than damage control. And then one day her father is working at his computer and she starts pushing him, trying to get on the computer. And he was like pushing her away, and she just kept on insisting. And he just something in him, I believe the nudge of the Holy Spirit said, just watch, okay? And so he stepped back and she typed on the computer. Now, bear in mind, this is a child who hasn't been taught, hasn't had the capacity to be taught, apparently. But she types on the computer.
Non-verbal, I'm assuming.
Right. Non-verbal, right?
Yeah.
Fully autistic.
Yeah.
And she types on the computer, in pain, help. And that was the first clue they had that this was a cognizant being, a conscious being inside there. And that was the last time for a year. And so what the parents did is they started, every time she wanted something, they'll put her hands on the computer. And it took a year for her to start typing. She now is fully functional.
Yeah.
And I believe she has her own YouTube channel as well. I'm,
Oh,
I
cool.
don't know all of the details here. But the one thing she did say that I remember, she said that with an autistic person, we see things like a video. We see and it flows from one chapter to the next, from one segment to the next. But for them, everything is like shattered glass. It's like a picture that explodes into 1,000 pictures. So a noise is like 1,000 noise, and it
Yeah.
simply overwhelms them. And so your comment about the headphones is a very simple solution and a way to help them.
Yeah, well, you see it with babies. A lot of churches will have the little tiny headphones because the babies can't handle the decibel level. It's the same with the autistic. We just need them in adult size
Right,
or
right,
teenage size,
right.
whatever.
Heather, I'm a, I have a sense there's a ministry in this for you that needs to be grown, and I'd love audience to reach out to you if that's okay.
It's fine.
Where can they get hold of you?
They can get hold of me on my website, heather-hancock.com, or my emails at heather.hancock.68@outlook.com.
Lovely,
They can reach out that way.
lovely. And this doesn't have to, we have perceptions in our mind that things are difficult. Oh, our church can't do this, can't do that. I've been in churches as elder, as pastor, and I would run into this sort of thinking a lot of times, oh, we can't put another burden on our congregation. And that, to me, is the wrong way of looking at it. If
Mhm.
God puts a ministry in your midst, God will finance, God will provide the resources for that. All we've got to do is be willing to accommodate that process. And very often it just comes down to, hey, guys, we have a need here. Please put up your hands and get together, those of you feel called to accommodate this ministry. And
Yeah.
when we do that, it changes from putting a burden on people to allowing people to walk in the joy of the Lord. It actually becomes a joy, and it actually releases people that have that gifting, because God does that. He puts a need and he puts the
Mhm.
provision for the need in the same congregation. And
Yeah.
sometimes the members are sitting there that want to serve the need, but they are looking to leadership for permission to serve the need.
Yeah.
So
That's
if you
the
have
dual
special,
structure. Yeah.
right, so if you have special needs person in your congregation, it's please take note, ask the Lord how you can facilitate the service and the ministry around that. Any
Yeah. And then
closing comment?
if it's a child, then work with the parents as well, because they know their kid better than anyone else as well.
Lovely. Excellent. Heather,
Yeah.
thank you so much. God bless you. Love the work you do and your faithfulness. And
Thank you.
reach out to heather-hancock.com. Thank you.
Thank you.